Guys, welcome back to the MFC Approach podcast. Super happy to be with you guys again today. And it's been a while since we've had a different guest on the show. Seems like me and Kylie have been doing a lot of episodes together, and we'll continue to do that. But I did want to start bringing more people on the show. And so today I am super excited to have on a good friend of mine, Jason Young. And Jason, I can't wait, man, to dive into some of the topics that we're going to talk about today, and get some of your expertise and knowledge and background around these topics. So Jason, welcome. Thank you so much for being here, dude.
Yeah, thanks, Luke. I'm looking forward to talking about some of these things that I'm passionate about. So thanks for having me on.
Awesome, man. Well, we're just going to jump right into it. Not going to waste any time. I did want to, just kind of ask Jason, like, let's start from the beginning. And by the beginning, I mean the beginning of your life. Tell us a little bit about you, who you are, where you were born, and all that good stuff, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I'll just go through a little bit about myself. Just a normal guy.
Awesome.
So I was born and raised in Utah. Lived in West Jordan, Utah most of my life, and then moved around a lot after that. I lived in California, Idaho, back to Utah, and currently I live in Idaho, Twin Falls, Idaho.
Did you guys move a lot, like for work, or what caused you to move, kind of growing up a lot?
Well, I actually lived in the same house almost my whole life since I was 2.
Okay, cool.
After 18, then I moved out.
Then you kind of moved all over the place. Gotcha. Okay.
I think it was moved 18 times after I moved out, something crazy like that.
Oh man.
All over the place.
Cool.
Just trying to figure out who I want to be in my life.
Love it. Awesome, dude. Sorry to cut you off there. Keep going.
Yeah. So, growing up, I was always an active kid. I did all sorts of sports, soccer, cross country, track and field, swimming, wrestling. Food has always been a huge part of my life. I always spent a large part of my time in the kitchen with my mom cooking.
Love it.
And I really was into academics and especially chemistry. And fun fact about myself, growing up, I was kind of a hobby firework maker,
Interesting.
So I did hobby chemistry in the backyard. Mom, watch this. Oh no.
Did you ever, I'm curious, did you ever get yourself hurt or into trouble with that sort of stuff, or?
No, I was really smart. And so I always had things calculated, so I never got caught.
Okay. Love it.
I had siblings, and so they got caught doing all the things, and I was like, okay, so don't do this. Okay, you're good, dude.
Yeah, that sounds like my life right there. I was the youngest, and so I kind of watched all my siblings make the silly mistakes and learned from that. So love it, dude. I just imagine a kid who makes fireworks, though, just getting into some trouble for sure. But not the case for you, huh?
No, I was always very cautious as well. I studied and figured out all the things that could go wrong. So I got all 10 of my fingers right here, so we're safe.
Love it.
So growing up, after I moved out, I went to college, and
so where did you go to college, Jason?
Yeah, so I started at Utah State University in Logan, Utah.
Gotcha.
And at the time I was studying chemistry, and then moved to biological engineering, and then did a little bit of computer engineering programming stuff later. And some of those, and when I was in biological engineering, it just didn't quite sit right with me. I was like, I don't know, there's something I'm missing. So I actually moved down to Provo, Utah. I was living with my older sister at the time, and that's when my love of health and food just grew immensely, because at the time, her daughter was having some health problems, and so and so she was doing a lot of dieting and whatnot, and it really opened my eyes to the world of food. Food is medicine. Food to improve people's health, whole food enjoyment, optimal nutrition, foraging, gardening. Like my sister was really into gardening, and so
Awesome.
I've gotten into gardening too. Like, yeah, just opens a whole new world because, like, you go to the grocery store, there's like, like 2 varieties of tomatoes, but in reality, there's like over 10,000 varieties of tomatoes, and when you get to that world, it really opens things up. And so,
Dude, I'm gonna just jump in real quick. I love that line that you said of food is medicine. I don't know if you have that copyrighted or if you heard that somewhere else, but food is medicine. Like, holy cow, how I just feel like, dude, that is such a profound thing to say, especially in today's world, because the foods that most people consume on a daily basis, I don't know if I would call those medicine. I would call those like poison in a lot of ways, right?
we'll get into that. We will talk.
Sorry, I'm jumping the gun.
No, yeah, well, like, yeah. So, let me tell a little bit about myself too. So,
Yeah.
I'm a food scientist. I'm a research and development application food scientist. So
real
my whole
quick,
day.
Jason, just really, really quick. So you moved to Provo. Were you going to school in Provo or no?
Yeah. So yeah, let me jump back. I'm all over the place.
You're okay.
Yeah. So I was actually studying food science, or no, I was studying computer programming, and I was developing iOS apps, or trying to.
Gotcha.
And then I moved into computer engineering, making computers, and then after that, I met my wife, or soon-to-be wife, and she's like, "This doesn't seem right for you," and I was like, I really feel it doesn't. And so then I, after that, was looking at different majors, and she's like, you should try this major, food science.
Wow.
And so I was like, food science, that sounds right. I love food. I love science. And so
put the two of them together.
Put them together, I could have a job making food every day. Like, that's awesome. And so then I got into food science. I got my bachelor's in food science and nutrition.
Was that from USU or was that from
USU?
Okay, so you moved back up to Logan?
Moved back up to Logan, yeah.
Okay.
And I went to get my master's degree at the University of Idaho /WSU. There's a combined food science program up there. Ended up transferring back because of complications with my advisor to Utah State University, and finished my master's degree in food science and nutrition at USU.
Okay, cool. Okay, so let's get into it, man. We understand who you are, what your what's the word? Your education background is, and how qualified you are to be talking about this. So let's dive into it now.
Yeah, now let's jump in. I was so excited to talk about it. Just wanted to get started.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so after I graduated, I got a job. I haven't cleared it with HR, so I work for, to say the company's name. So I work for an Irish nutrition company right now. And as I said, I'm a research and development application food scientist. So what that is I help to develop some ingredients, but most of my day is I'm on the healthy bars and snacking team. So I take foods and I take those ingredients and make them into products. And so right now, what I work on is mainly high protein bars and snacks. So what I'll be working on, because I can't say exactly what they are, because confidentiality between customers, but
yeah,
what I work on is sold in Costco, Walmart, Sam's Club, Kroger, Amazon,
Pretty much
everywhere.
anywhere that anybody listening to this is going to be shopping.
Yeah. And if it's the best protein bar in the market, you're eating it right now, and I made it.
Nice. Love it.
Yeah. Look for some new launches coming up in Costco. And
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. We'll keep our eye out for it.
keep your eye out. Yeah, the next couple months, it's gonna be good.
So, Jason, I'm curious, where you're so involved in this. I guess I'm trying to remember how you explained it. So, I mean, like a supplement company, right? Is that what you explained it as?
Yeah, basically.
So, are you guys? So I'm trying to think. Are you guys like a name brand that people would recognize, like on the shelves of stores, or are you basically creating the formulas and stuff for all of these big names that we see on the shelves?
So there's two parts of our company. One part is customer facing, and so they sell a lot of the main name brands for like whey and milk protein isolates, like what you buy in the bulk protein bags, like at Costco or whatnot. That's that part. And I am part of the other part of the company where large companies come and hire us to make their products for them.
Gotcha.
And then we put our ingredients in there and we sell our ingredients. And so that's how that works.
Okay. Awesome. So I guess, Jason, just speaking to the general population of people who are listening to this podcast, what are some things that you would want them to know in regards to, I mean, supplementation as well as just like food consumption? Like what are some of those things that you feel like as a whole we're missing as a general population?
Ooh, man, there's a lot. I'll speak generally for a second and then get more specific.
Okay, sounds good.
But I mean, as being someone who understands food on like, you know, like the chemical basis and the breakdown of that, to someone who just like loves eating, you know, chocolate, you know, on a daily basis, to, you know, all over the place. I feel that the thing I want people to know is that having a good relationship with food is essential to being healthy.
Oh man, I love that. What do you mean by that?
So relationship requires time, exploration, effort, like relationships have. And so I feel that people are disconnected from their food these days. And people aren't taking the time. It's just a means to an end. They're eating food so they can have energy, so they can live their lives. But I feel like people need to take a step back, slow down. You know, when you're eating food and you want to have a relationship with it, you know, how does this food taste? How does it look? How does it feel? How does it sound as you eat it? And then, and more importantly, how do you feel after you eat it?
Yes.
How do you feel an hour, 3 hours, 6 hours, the next day? How is this affecting your body? Learning to dive in and be mindful of your consumption and how it makes you feel is extremely important. And then the next thing is, you know, being a food scientist in nutrition, in the nutrition world, this thing I feel just so passionate about. I can make, as a food scientist, I try to make the cleanest label, healthiest food without all the junk in it. You know, like I want to make a high protein cashew butter bar with whey and milk protein, and I'm not going to add, you know, silicone dioxide. I'm not going to add, which you wouldn't normally add to that anyway. Sucralose. I'm going to stick to stevia and monk fruit and avoid sugars and stuff. But people aren't reading the labels.
So
There's
that's why
probably-
I wanted to ask Jason, when you say like you're like what you're trying to do is like create a clean label. Like what does that mean exactly? Does that mean as few of ingredients as possible, or does that mean like actually just really clean ingredient foods? Like what do you mean by that? And like, so the reason I asked that too is like I want to give people an idea of like when, because in the last podcast that I did with Kylie, she's kind of like my co-host that comes on pretty regularly. We talked about how just being more aware of what you're putting into your body, like look at the labels, look at the macros, just pay attention, to what is going in. Like how, or I guess what should people be looking for, when they are looking at the labels and stuff? Because obviously there's a lot of stuff in food that we don't know. Like some of those things that you just listed off, I'm like, cool. I mean, even as knowledgeable as I feel like I am when it comes to food, I'm like, a lot of those things that you just mentioned, I'm like, I have no idea what those are.
Yeah, and that's exactly the point of it. When you read a label, you should understand all the ingredients that you have on there. If it's got apples in it, great. If it's got 1,3,7-trimethylxanthine, maybe look it up before you put it in your body. I think that's how it should be. Yeah, short as label and clean, whole foods. That's what I shoot for.
Awesome.
Sometimes there are some foods that need extra ingredients so they don't spoil, which helps to make them cheaper, for example.
Okay.
But I think people should understand. So, for example, like, I don't know, I think, so they'll sample bread. So they'll put, I'm spacing for a second. They'll put mold inhibitors and other things in those breads to make them better shelf life and functionally. But
so basically preservatives, is that like what that would be?
Preservative, yeah. And so, there are those foods that have those in them, and that helps to increase the shelf life. And so you're going to talk about, for example, like your benzoates and whatnot. But you should be reading that on the label and know what benzoates do to your body. For example, know how does that affect my gut microbiome when I consume this, when I'm eating, foods with glyphosates in them, that are sprayed with pesticides. How does that affect my gut microbiome or the rest of my body? How does consuming sucralose, for example, I mentioned that. How does that affect my body? It's gonna, if you read on it and you look at it, it's gonna affect your endocrine system and how your body produces hormones. And so, as you're reading labels, just read labels and slowly over time educate yourself.
Cool.
As to what those things do to your body and limit consumption of those bad things. Obvious. I mean, it's pretty obvious. Yeah. But let me add this. Stop then buying those foods that you don't want to see go into your body. Spend less money, give less money to those companies that are making products that are poisoning you. Because it's a consumer driven market, and what you buy is what people are going to make. So
that's funny. That's a conversation I feel like we have with different people, family, friends. It's like it is all demand based, right? So the more people buy it, the more people are going to make it. But one thing, Jason, I wanted to kind of bring up a strategy and like an approach that I use with my clients, as well as that I just share as kind of general knowledge with anybody. And I think it kind of speaks to what you were just saying, because I feel like this can feel really daunting and overwhelming. And like, I don't even know where to start, like I don't know what that is. I don't know what this is. It's like, I don't even know. So a lot of times people just say, screw it. I'm just going to give up. I'm just going to continue living the life that I always have. But but such an easy way of making changes that will actually affect your life for the better. I feel like, I don't know if you've heard of the 80-20 rule. Jason, are you familiar with that?
I listened to your last podcast, so.
So the 80-20 rule, obviously 80% of the time, try to eat like whole, single or simple ingredient foods. 20% of the time, it's like, sure, have whatever it is that you really enjoy, but I think the thing is too, like over time, as you develop those habits, and just try and keep things simple rather than getting overwhelmed and stuff. Like over time, as you do that, as you eat these foods that Jason's kind of touching on, like simple single ingredient or as few of ingredients as possible foods, it's like your body's going to adjust, and like that's what you're going to want. And so I just feel like the 80-20 rule is such a good place to start, because again, the majority of your diet is those whole foods, like the good whole foods that we're talking about. And then the 20% I feel like just diminishes over time. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we're recording this at 9:30 in the morning, and me and my boy just went and got donuts. Like that's one of our favorite things to do on Saturday morning. Like we don't do it every Saturday, but some Saturdays, we go get donuts. But one of the things that I try to do to be more mindful, is like I make eggs that we eat with our donuts, and we have a little bit of a protein shake too. So it's like we're not just consuming donuts for breakfast, right? We're still getting in some of those essential macros and stuff that are better for your body other than just donuts. Because I don't know, I preach a lifestyle to people, and I want people to enjoy their lives. And if going and getting a donut every now and then is going to help you stay on track with your diet, then by all means, it's like developing that relationship like you were talking about earlier, Jason. I just feel like it's so critical. So anyways, I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
No, that's exactly where I was going next. Yeah. Where do people start?
Yeah.
Because you can't just avoid everything, otherwise you're just going to starve to death.
Yep, it's true.
You just start with, eating whole foods, red meats, fruit, vegetables, and then you fill in the cracks with protein and other supplemental things that help to improve your health.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Sorry, I jumped in there and I totally just stole your thunder, man. I'm sorry about that.
No. I'm glad that we're on the same page. That makes me really happy, because I think, it's ironic. I make money off people buying packaged foods, but I want them to eat not packaged foods first. Because I want people to be healthy. That's the goal. And I want people to understand the things I'm talking about so that they can be mindful of what they're eating and buying.
Love it.
And so
I feel like we live in a society though where people eat packaged foods. You know what I'm saying? So Jason, your efforts definitely aren't wasted, right? Because chances are somebody's buying your products out of convenience, and obviously it's better that they're eating those products rather than somebody else's products who aren't as good, right?
Right. And that they understand that consuming certain things are better. For example, it's like I mentioned, protein. So I work with high protein products all the time, and
oh yeah,
it kills me when I go to the store and I see all these things that people don't understand. Like you look at, let's say you go to the supplement section, you want to buy some protein, and you see 3 different products, and they all say 20 grams of protein on the front.
Yeah.
And one says, whey protein isolate, and one says only plant-based proteins, pea protein, and then one says soy protein. Let's say there's a 4th one, 20 grams of collagen protein. And those are not all the same thing. But some people believe they are. They're like, protein's protein, and let's eat it. But those are all completely different things, and they'll have different effects on your body.
So this is something I was hoping you were going to get into, Jason. So I'm really excited about this. So Keep going. I don't want to cut you off. I'm sure you were going to get into it, but I'm really excited to hear you explain the differences between those four, at least those four that you mentioned, because I do feel like in today's world, guys, like if you're on social media, if you follow any number of like fitness influencers or whatever you want to call them, everybody has their own opinion and everybody has data to match what opinion they say is right. And fact of the matter is like not all data and not all science is created equal. It's like, anyways. So Jason, I'm really excited you're talking about this. Somebody who obviously knows. You've spent a lot of time educating yourself on these things. So protein, I think I mentioned to you before, Jason, like protein is something that I preach all the time too. Like the vast majority of society is not eating enough protein on a daily basis.
Right. No, I agree. And not the right forms of protein too. So
and now we're getting into that. We're adding another level to it. It's like, even if you are eating the protein, are you getting enough of the right kinds of protein?
Yeah. So let's dig into it. So let's say, you're looking at those four products and they all say, each contains 20 grams of protein. Well, let's make it 25. That'll make it a little easier math wise. So when someone makes a protein claim on the front of a label, legally, they are required to put the percent daily value on the nutrition facts panel. And so this is where you can educate yourself. You can go, okay, 20 grams of protein per serving, flip it over, look at the back. So the daily value for adults in the United States is 50 grams of protein a day. And so let's say on the front, it says a serving is 25 grams. Oh, it's not 50?
No, I think you're right. I just think that that's just way lower than it should be. I guess that's what I was shaking my head at. Sorry.
No, I was like, wait, I thought I knew stuff.
No, you do. You do know stuff.
No, you're right. So that's the standards. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll talk about that later too. You hit that one because I could see your passion rising.
Yeah.
In your face. So that'll be what it's compared to when your daily value on the nutrition facts panel. And so on the front, it says 25 grams of protein. Well, if you look on the back, okay, so 50 is what you're trying to hit. 25, that should be 50% of your daily value. 25 is half of 50. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you're going to consume like whey protein or milk protein, that's going to match up. But let's say you're talking about pea protein here. It's not going to read 50% of your daily value. It's going to read 70% of 25, whatever that is math-wise. I don't know, like 18 or something.
Yeah.
And so you can go, oh, okay. So then this is not a complete protein that I'm consuming right here. Let's say you look at the collagen one. It's going to say 25 grams of protein on the front. You look at the back, it's probably going to have like 1 or less than 1 gram of protein on it because collagen is not. It's like even less complete of a protein. We'll talk about completeness in a second. And then soy, you'll get approximately the same as whey. And so of all the alternatives to whey protein, would you say soy is the best, or what? Like, is that what I just picked up, or? What I'm talking about here is completeness of proteins.
Okay.
So your body needs you have amino acids, and they are the building blocks of proteins. There's 20 of them. Your body produces 11. There's 9 that are essential to get through your diet. And when you look at proteins, you need to have all of those to have a complete protein. And that's what your body then uses to build muscle and maintain your body, and or to stop your body from breaking down. And one way that we measure that is through what's called PD-CAS or DIAS. And we won't get into that, but basically it measures how our bodies take in proteins and use them, and that completeness we talk about overall. And then they rank them in terms of numbers and scores. So for example, whey and milk protein has a PD-CAS of 1, so 100%. So you complete. So if you have 25 grams on your daily value, it'll be 50% of that.
Gotcha.
Collagen is like 1 or less than 1%. And so it's like 0.01. So yeah, on your daily value, it's going to be super low. So your completeness of proteins is not, you're not getting much out of it.
So what is all the hype about collagen proteins then, Jason? Because from what I understand, collagen proteins, don't they like support like ligaments and hair growth and I mean some of those sorts of things? Like, is that true, or what is the purpose of collagen protein then?
Yeah, so collagen protein is good structurally for your body. Okay. So yeah, hair, nails, skin.
But not muscle.
But not muscle. Because it doesn't contain all the essential amino acids.
Okay, cool. So there is a place for it still, but not when it comes to maintaining muscle mass or building muscle mass.
Yeah, or even like satiety, like or calories.
Okay.
It is inferior in those ways.
Gotcha. Okay. That's good because and yeah, I don't know. I feel like the reason why I preach protein so much is because of muscle mass, right? Like and I know that somebody's going to hear this and say like, "Well, I don't want to be jacked. I don't want to be big." And it's like that's not the point. Like the point is to reduce your muscle from atrophying over time as you age and to keep you from falling down the stairs, you know, when you get up into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. Because as we age, obviously, our muscle atrophies. And so, anyways, that's the reason why we're talking about protein right now in the way we are, is because no, not everybody needs to be big and jacked. I mean, I don't know why you wouldn't want to be, but that's not the point. The point is just to build a healthy level of muscle to be able to carry you throughout your life and not let it atrophy as we age. So anyways, thank you for clearing that up on the collagen. And I'm guessing it's probably similar with like pea protein and soy protein too. But yeah, what would you say, Jason? I don't know if you're going to touch on this. What would you say is for somebody who maybe is like lactose intolerant or is sensitive to dairy? It's like, what options are there for them besides whey protein? Like, is there a good substitute, or are they just kind of out of luck? Do they just need to get more protein through foods?
You're going to have to eat grosser things. I'm just kidding. Well, I mean, so if you're lactose intolerant, soy is probably a good option for you. But with this in mind, the things that I've read and studied about soy, and you should all educate yourselves too, is depending on your age, you should or shouldn't consume soy protein. I like to talk to this. I'm not an expert in this, so this is just me as a human doing research. But because soy contains or is a pseudoestrogen, basically, can lead to production of that estrogen in the body, you want to avoid soy as a young person in the developmental stages, or as an older person, especially women who have undergone menopause in their older stages. They can increase the risk of breast cancer for those children, for those older people, and for young people, it can affect their development as they're really young. So If you're in that middle age, consume soy. Yeah, it's fine. It gives me gas. I don't like it. Too much information. That's a good alternative. Unless you have a soy allergen, and then you'll die. Don't do that. So, you can, and this is something that I work on all the time. So I do work on plant-based protein, high protein products, and you can combine certain plant proteins together to make a complete protein.
Okay.
And so
are there protein powders out there that have done that then, or no?
I'm sure there are. Off the top of my head, I don't have any in my mind.
Gotcha. Okay.
You can always look at alternatives too, like spirulina. It's one of the few plant-based proteins that has a PDCAAS of 1.
Gotcha.
And so it's and that's a good alternative as well. But mostly, I mean, meat. Just get a lot of your protein through meat.
Yeah. I'm glad. Yeah. I figured it was coming back to this because I think obviously, guys, supplements are called supplements for a reason, right? Like the word supplement implies that you're using it as like a secondary, well, maybe not a secondary source, but just like as a supplementary source of the different things that supplements contain. And when we talk specifically about protein powder, it's like, no, you shouldn't consume, 150 grams of protein powder a day and think that, you're I don't know. Obviously it's going to be better than nothing, but at the same time too, it's not going to be as good or as beneficial as it could be if you were actually eating, like Jason mentioned earlier, whole meat sources, and that sort of stuff. So, use it as a supplement. Like a lot of times I'll work with clients, I'll mention like when you go on road trips, make sure you have some protein powder that you can use as needed, because who knows what you're eating is going to look like, when you're on a business trip or whatever it may be. But the bottom line is like, we want to focus on those whole foods first. And those whole like natural meat sources, especially the red meats, I think is kind of what you mentioned, Jason, right?
Totally.
Awesome. So Jason, I don't know if you had more you wanted to talk about, but just feel like we're kind of reaching our limit of where people are going to stop listening to us if we keep talking too much. So I want to just ask you to kind of give us your last little bits of knowledge and information, like for somebody who is looking to start consuming protein more on a daily basis. Like what would you recommend to this person? How would you recommend they go about that? And I don't know, any other suggestions or tips you might have for somebody like that?
Pretty simple. Just try and get some protein with every meal. And listen to Luke's last podcast. He gave some really good tips of like serving sizes, for how, putting something in your palm and, understanding what that is.
Yep.
And then it takes a little bit of effort, but learn how much protein you're consuming in a day. And you just need that initial bit of learning. You might have to weigh some things out, or you could try and do simple measurements, like putting things in your hand is that. But once you learn it, then you can start being aware of what you're consuming. You just have to get that initial energy to start seeing what you're consuming.
Yeah. I love that, because it's just awareness, right? And that's the one thing, again, when I start working with somebody new who, like I said, I don't know if I've ever, well, I shouldn't say ever, but there's only been a couple of people that I've ever started working with as a client who were consuming enough protein already. Again, guys, the vast majority of people are under consuming protein. And as a result of that, our bodies just aren't going to age and hold up the way that they should as we do get older and stuff. So I mean, I feel like all the time people are saying, you know, oh man, I'm in my 30s, my body's so much stiffer. I'm on all of these things, right? And there's a lot more to it than just eating more protein, but eating more protein is a great place to start when it comes to taking care of your body and maintaining your health as you go throughout life and not letting it decline. Obviously, eating more protein, moving more is another thing that I say all the time. You know, exercise, go on walks, get 8,000 steps a day, eat more whole foods. Don't focus on these extreme diets that are being pushed. I would say very rarely is one of these extreme diets something that would be beneficial for somebody. Not that they are bad or anything, but it's just extreme is not the answer, guys. And so finding a balance of eating, you know, whole foods 80% of the time, and getting enough protein each day, I feel like is gonna get you going in the right direction and keep you going in the right direction long term. So any other thoughts, Jason, on that?
We'll leave it for now. I have a lot of the math in my head, like protein recommendations, but just eat more protein.
Yeah, eat more protein. I mean, simply put, I mean, we guess we could say, right? I don't know if this is where you were going, Jason, but roughly 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight, or ideal body weight is kind of what I tell people. So if you're somebody who, you know, is overweight or obese, then it's like you don't need to be consuming as much as you weigh. It's like just aim for your ideal body weight, and that alone will support you.
Yeah, and if you're older, and undergoing, you talked about muscle breakdown in older people, so
Yeah.
sarcopenia, consume more, between 1 and 1.2 it's kilograms per day, whatever that conversion is.
Yeah. Cool. I like that. Yeah. So as you age, you do need to, I think it's like 10% per decade, right? Or something like that as you age to eat more protein. Anyways, so guys, bottom line, eat more protein, eat more whole foods, eat better foods. Jason, I don't think this is the last time you'll be on the podcast. I think we have a lot more to touch on and learn from you on. So look forward to that in the future, but just want to thank you for being here today.
Yep. Thanks, Luke. Thanks for having me on.
You bet, man. Okay. Well, guys, have a great day. Continue to work towards unlocking your full potential. This health journey is not a short-term thing. This is a lifestyle. This is something that you will work on throughout your life. So get on the path and stay on the path, and look forward to seeing you guys next time.